Hello, welcome back to Two Kims, One Pod.
One Pod.
This is me. I'm Peter Kim.
And this is me. I'm Eunji Kim.
Thank you so much for coming back, folks. Here we are. Two Kims, we're on one pod. Eunji, you were on time again. This new drug it's flipping me out. What's happening?
I'm telling you, it is really strange.
It's strange. What's happening? You're like, everything is working like clockwork?
No.
The vivence is vivencing?
It just means like, Peter, it's really making me realize, I will say one, it makes me like crazy about like, makes me realize how hard I've had to work to get so little. Mm-hmm. Like how crazy I've had to work
to get this much.
Like truly, like how psychotically I've been working to try to achieve so little. And it's like fucking me up. But the other side of it is that like, because I am actually accomplishing and like time managing and like being real, it's like a waterfall effect. Like I'm recognizing what I can or cannot do. I'm meeting deadlines, and if I can't, I'm like being communicative, like, you know, like a normal person.
Wow.
But like crazy,
like,
but
not dropping the ball
at all. Or even even when I mean, and the thing is, like, I've done it. But this is the thing. It's not so much that like I'm accomplishing things or anything like that. It's more the fact that even though I am accomplishing, or at least like staying on as much as on top of the ball as I can, I'm realizing that I still have so much to do. Like I'm still so busy. Like I thought that like if I was on the ball and if I was doing this like time managing better, like somehow I would have more time. But it turns out I'm actually just committed to doing a lot. Like I'm actually, if I were to doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, like it is actually a ton of stuff. And it's just like the nature of what it is. But
before it was a ton of stuff and you were just like
drowning. Overwhelmed, and also
and now
just
you're like breaststroke, backstroke,
and I'm still
tired.
Yeah, and it's still a ton of work. It's still a long pool. The laps are still really long. I am exhausted, but I'm just doing it. Whereas before, like I'd be like, oh, I'm drowning. I might as well drink a margarita. Like I might as well, you know, learn about every single British royal, you know, like stuff like that. You know, I had a lot more like time because I was not trying to do it.
Accomplish things
because it's so inconceivable. But even then, like it's just like, you know, and that is also like the reality, and you know this, of being a creative person. Like it's just now it's just so much fucking work. Like that's what it is now. To be a person that is working, it's just a lot of fucking work. I was watching this Malcolm Gladwell talk about like just how young people and what it is to work now is just beyond anything in any generation, right? Like physical labor may be more intense, but the actual amount of work, hours at a desk, hours thinking about work is beyond anything Henry Ford tried to make people do, right? It's like people are on their computers late at night. They're billing hours, no matter how rich they are. They're on their
phones, emails, Blackberries.
Everyone is always
available.
Always available. Yeah. And like that just means that like even if you are like a corporate person, I will say this, and we've talked about this, the only people that we know who have like a kind of like good corporate like life and work balance are people that have been working at like huge corporations for 10 plus years. And once you reach that level that you do sort of like get a little bit of a reprieve, you've like built up enough goodwill and you're just like managing teams. So like you can kind of like do whatever. And even though you're just always on call, but those are the only people. Everyone else, we're working our asses off constantly. You know, like it was just because the way that Malcolm Gladwell is talking about it, he's like, yeah, when I was a journalist, I'd go home at 6 and no one could reach me.
So I don't think I'm doing this correctly because I and maybe it's because I'm not on Vyvanse, but I feel as a creative. Oh, by the way, this week you were talking about like a creative's life and like an artist's way or whatever. This week was the first week I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm an artist. Like before, I think I like knew I was doing that.
Sure.
Like living an artist's life, broke and creating. But I never gave myself the latitude or leeway of what it means to be an artist.
Right.
So you might be saying a similar thing where it's like a creative person's work is like constant because their brain's like constantly working towards this or that. And I feel like this week specifically, like there was a moment where I was like, I'm an artist. I've done enough. Get off me. And I've never felt that before. I always felt, and I think this has to do with like our upbringing, like nothing is ever enough.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
Like you
yes.
can't stop, won't stop. Not to quote the devil himself, but I like
oh my
I
God,
was always in that mentality, you know. Oh yeah, we'll get into Diddy stuff. But this week I was like, I'm precious. I can't be fucked with. For the first time ever. Like, yeah. And there was a moment I was like,
it's because expectations are being placed on you.
Yes. Self-placed too.
Yeah, for sure. But like there's like actual like people depending, like it's like the stakes are different. So your reaction is obviously more like oh my gosh. No, like it's actually like the opposite. Whereas if there were none, you'd be placing them on yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this week was the first week I like caught up to everything I owed. Writing wise.
Yes.
You know, like even like a pitch or like an outline for something, or you know, like I'm always like spinning a bunch of fucking plates.
Yes.
And this week was the first week I was like every plate stopped and fell. And I was like, what? Like I felt really weird, like that I had caught up, and I was just like, That's why I texted you. I was like, do you know any publishers?
Yeah, this bitch is writing a book. I'm like, shut up. Like, you're telling me like, oh, I've done enough. Shut up. Like, you're not on Vibance. What a flex. Shut up.
Like, I should be. I want to. I want some fucking performance enhancing drugs.
No. You'd be a monster. Like, like how much more can you achieve? Like,
I need more. I need more.
Like, you're like describing something, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm not caught up. Like,
hilarious.
Like, yeah, I'm just like doing the bare minimum and like passing by. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's enough. And like, you know, it's like, because it is, yeah, it's like when you're talking about this stuff, it's like as a creative. I mean, this is the thing. As a creative, there is a part of it that is deeply hustle culture that is like toxic, right? Like the sort of like hustle and grind. You know those guys on Instagram that's like, if you're not getting up at 5, like you're losing $100,000. Like those guys. There's like, if you're not constantly, you know,
having lunch with someone, you're not doing it. Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just these guys that are like, so like if you're, you skip like days, whatever. And
no, those are for like business bros. That's not for us.
But that sort of like grind mentality is a part of creative life now. Like you need to be doing 4 to 5 things at all times and be not only comic but also writer, but also this, but also that. You need to be selling yourself on every single front. You need to be having X, Y, Z. You need to have social media. Like you are everything in a corporation of you. Right. And so and there is no idea that like I'm just talent. Like that just doesn't fucking exist anymore.
Well, no, it doesn't. Which
so
is
like
horrible.
That's what I mean.
I want that.
So like it's like it is so it's like it is like a part of it that's like very toxic, but it's like it's built into what it is to be a creative now. I mean, it's yes, I know. It's like it's horrible. And yeah, but even when I was like now that I'm like feeling a little better and being on time and like it's just like it's weird. It's not like I'm like it's a panacea for anything. It's just more like, oh right, this is what it's like to, you know,
be a normal person.
Yeah, like like meet expectations, like, you know what I mean? Like, cause the thing is like, it's always like like exceeding expectations or being like, what happened? And, So yeah, it's like it is definitely it's strange, but also it's like for you anyway, like it must be so like, I mean, I think there are some people, like I think I can think of a couple of people in the top of my head that when expectations are high, like that's where those are the circumstances under which you thrive.
That's
like,
me.
Yeah, like it's like, oh, this is the moment. This is actually.
I feel like that's a lot of
tights.
artists. It's like the procrastination. They need that pressure to rise, and
it's very similar to I mean, it's very similar to sports people, like athletes.
Oh, okay.
Because it is all about just grind, practicing over and over and over again for the big show. When the stakes are high, and and how you perform. Yeah. Like, you know, and it's like, it's just all that other work. And then like, it's like some athletes have a very bad work ethic or are not naturally talented, but are so competitive, rise to that occasion and have that mental toughness where like, that's when they show up. So like, it's the same thing with comics. I remember when I was like trying to find a therapist for myself, like someone made that recommendation to me that athletes and like performers have a lot in common, and that a lot of their sort of like insecurities and stuff like that are like aligned. And especially if you're having issues with like performance, that this was a good person to go to. And I was like, man, I never thought about that way, because you know,
interesting.
Yeah, because I've never thought of performers as being particularly athletic.
No, it is very similar. It is very sport-like, I would say. The only sport I partake in, I would say our stakes are way lower than sports. Professional to professional speaking.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, there's like we're not in danger of bodily harm. There's not millions of us watching, you know, like every game like football is.
Right.
But, you know, I guess if you're at the top of your game, it is a similar thing, like a Dave Chappelle or something.
For sure.
Every time he does a special, he's going to expect a few million people to be tuning in or whatever. But again, like the physical, like it's just not as high stakes as sports.
Yeah, I would say that like, the stakes are similar to like maybe a high school track meet, or maybe
like a golf game.
A high school,
you know what I mean?
An junior high intramural golf tournament.
Yeah, because it's very singular. It's not a team sport where it's not like football or basketball. It's definitely like archery, where it's like you alone are doing something and people are like, either you do it well or you don't. You know what I mean? There's no like group of people you have to collaborate with in order for your thing to work. And maybe if you have writers, if you know, if you're a big
by
comic.
the way, I just heard about this person. Have you ever met a comic that uses a writer?
A comic that uses a writer? No, I've met the other way. Comics that write for comics.
Right.
Like I know a couple of people who write for Ellen. Who wrote her special, basically.
Have you watched
coming
it?
out on Netflix? No, I haven't, but I know what it's about.
Okay.
Because I heard about it in development.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fascinating. I've seen the trailer.
The trailer? Oh, okay, yeah. From what I hear, it's unrelatable, but very funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's like her last one was like that too. It's like literally about that. And I do actually appreciate the fact that she's not running away from it, right? Because it would be psycho for her to try to, which I think sometimes.
Or have like a different point of view.
Exactly. The
then
authenticity.
I'm a victim, you know? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like the authenticity about it, like that she understands that is a vital part of remaining funny. Like that's, you know, I mean, sometimes with like Jerry, I'm just like, if he did not have a family, like there's a part of me that wonders like if he was like, I don't think this is true, but there's like a part of it that's like, if he did not have a family, he would be too unrelatable and too like bizarre. Because like, I don't know if he would ever think to like try to lean into that.
I don't think the family helps. I really don't. He's so unrelatable. And so like removed from what is funny.
Yeah, I mean Chappelle kind of leans into the unrelatability of himself, like the fame and all that stuff. So he's like more preacher now. Like he's like coming down from. I think you
have to be when you're that level.
Yes,
like it's similar to not really. I guess it is a similar problem. Like Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura have a similar issue. Where it's the unrelatability of like they're like starting to not be relatable to their own fans because they've gotten too big.
Because they've flown there to the gig on a private jet.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what does that have to do with being like the every person? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's very like Icarus coded. So they're.
I mean, that to Nate Bargatze's credit, like the fact that he lives in Nashville, that he makes an effort to, like, that is what helps. And
and Dave, I think it used to help when because he lives in Ohio,
right?
So that was a similar thing where he was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay in my thing and not get like overly Hollywoodized or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think Nate's a way better at it and is an actual like family man who likes his family.
Yes.
Whereas I'm sure Dave's going out allegedly, cheating the whole time. And a lot of the queer theories is that he's going around cheating with T-girls.
Oh, I mean, like my favorite TikTok is like it reads bad trick.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, like who among the dolls did this to him? Like it's reading bad trick, and it's like it's so. Yeah, and the thing is, like, to be so big that no one on his team can be like, "Yo, this is how it reads."
I know that's crazy. I know.
But this is not a huge comic, by the way. This is just like a regular, like, kind of headliner, and I guess they're using a writer like that's going out on the road with them and like writing and like so it's like very Hacks.
Okay.
Like that, and I'd never, it's one of those things where like. It's cool that it's that they recognize that this is not
that they need help.
Yes, that this is not their skill set, and instead of stealing or instead of like trying to like cobble it together or like a last minute before a special trying to do it, but like
that's
together.
What I've always heard is like the special thing because I used to write jokes for Bobby when he was thinking about doing his special. And now that he's like back, like in consideration for one, or I think he like signed something to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's being very like secretive about it, but he's like finally been convinced, and it's like in a year, I guess. So he has all this time to prepare. So I texted him and I was like, hey, do you want any help again?
Yeah.
And he was like, absolutely. So I'm going to go to the Comedy Store tonight and watch his set and record it and just kind of get reacquainted to like his set and like his vibe. So yes, to prepare for special, I think that's a very normal thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because a lot of times you want you've been going around the road doing your thing, but you just want to cover all your angles so that when you put this video thing out, it's going to be to like anyone who could watch. So a lot of people are like, okay, I know I've been doing this thing on the road, but can I cover any holes or like, is there things I should punch up? Is there things I should like leave? Like for example, for Bobby, I would say like, don't find a different closer because his closer is very like, you have to be there and live. Like he strips down and does a dance and all that. Like I think on camera it won't look as good, but in live it's more like oh my God, I can't believe that's happening. So like stuff like that, I understand why you would want to use, but just a regular headliner going out on the road
to help with the show.
How does he have the money?
I mean,
because like regular headliners aren't getting paid to pay a writer, and then that writer is. How are they paying paying for their way on the road. Like they have to stay in their own hotel rooms, or maybe they don't. They like bunk up.
They feature.
I know they feature, but like, where are they sleeping? You know, if this is a regular headliner, he's on the road, like in his like Kia Soul. You know what I mean? Like he's not in a bus. So like all of those costs, you know, like how does that work?
I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you the
even paying for a feature. I'm like, what? Okay,
I'll tell you the name off air, and it's like it's to me. There's a part of it that I actually do respect because, like, there's a respect for the hour that they're doing on the road, right? Like, there's a like, oh, right, people are coming to see me. I need to give them a good show, and I want to guarantee that.
Oh, okay. I think I know what kind of person this is. This is like a TikTok person.
No,
like a person who became a comic because they're famous. That I understand why you would need a writer, because that's not your gig.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, it's just they are a comic, but they're not. This is not completely.
They're not like someone who became a comic because they were popular with something else.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like, it is there's like, it's like a hybrid sort of situation, but it's like this is not their lane, and so. Absolutely. But I think it's also like just like there's a demonstration of like, because I've seen plenty of TikTok acts that do not show this level of deference to the show. Like they're just bombing. They're doing bad or having bad shows, or they're doing bad shows and the audience doesn't care and they don't care. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's just people people who've paid $60 to go see a bad show for an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone is happy though. Mm-hmm. So like, but it's nice that this person is still trying, even though like ultimately it may not even matter because everyone's just gonna be happy to see them. That's
what I'm saying. Like if this person is a regular comic who is known for their comedy, they wouldn't need to do this.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not a thing you would need to do. That seems like an extraneous, or that seems like someone who's like, I just want to pay for friends. Like, why would that be necessary on the road in like Dayton, Ohio? Like, you need a writer for that show?
I mean, maybe everyone is trying to get that hour, you know? Like, it's ultimately like you wonder.
So that he could that might be it. He might be prepping a like special. You know, people
like
are just
pitch,
putting it out on his YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. So like he can be just preparing for like a YouTube special, and that's why he has a writer. That makes sense to me. But as far as like touring the Midwest, that makes no sense. That's crazy.
It was fascinating.
I mean, if you got the money, there's worse ways to spend it.
I mean, there are sometimes like so many touring headliners right now where it's like, ugh, alimony must be tough. You know what I mean? Like
what? Alimony?
Like it's like, you know, where it's like an alimony
divorced
tour.
Dads?
Yeah. Like who is it?
Oh my God.
Who's the guy from
so sad.
The guy from Kids in the Hall, I think? Who's the
Which one?
It's like the main guy. Like not the quirky guy, but like the kind of like Weasley looking blonde one.
Yeah, blonde one.
Yeah, he went on something that I think he had dubbed the Alimony Tour. That he got divorced and like he was like, I need to make some money like right now. And
there was a guy who a writer for The Office / other things. He was teaching a pilot writing class, and I didn't take the class. I took like the intro to see like what his vibe was. It's like, come to this free intro and then sign up if you think whatever. And I liked him, except he dropped that. Yeah, so gotta pay for alimony, so gotta do a bunch of these more classes in this year. And I was like, ew. I can't pay for this. I gotta go.
So sorry for your loss. Apologies for the demise of your marriage.
Yeah. Do you like your kids? Yeah, it was weird. But anyway, the Alimony Tour thing is so sad.
I mean, to me, like ultimately, I cannot like to be rich enough to get divorced is like a thing. Like when,
oh my God.
When Allie got announced, I was just like, like blessings upon you, sister. Like congratulations, you've done
Ali
it.
Wong.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
You've done it. You've made it. Like
Yeah.
you know, started from Comedy Central. Now you're here. Like you know what I mean? To be able to do this and like
Incredible.
the yes, really, and the arc and even her material, like it's so ripe and like just as a loud bitchy woman, it's so inspirational and like I do find.
You have a lane ahead of you. That's really amazing.
It is really inspiring.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So wait, when is he's gonna announce? You know, like has it been announced that he's going?
He
to
announced
film?
it on his podcast that he signed a deal, so he has a year to like film. So this is the year that he's gonna like get it ready, I guess. So yeah, I'm willing to help.
Yeah, I mean, like it's his like unwillingness to film something is like notorious.
Yes, and the fact that he's taking so long to do one, I get it. Like the longer you wait, the more pressure builds. Of like, well, we waited so long, so it better be fucking good. Yeah, so you know it'll be good anyway. Like people will love it. And first of all, there's been such bad specials that like this'll sail right through. You know what I mean? Like, like it could be great, but like it won't be horrible. Trust me. There's some in the last couple of years, the shit that Netflix has pumped out is awful.
I 100% agree. I will say something I found recently is that like if you guys are interested in comedy, like truly, like I actually have been enjoying like specials on YouTube of like comics that I sort of know about or like some will get a rec somewhere and like truly those have been the ones that have like just really like these are like I can like this is a person that has worked on this special for 3 years. Like been doing it on the road, fucking doing rooms and like this is their point of view and this is the best they can do. It's in whatever form, you know, like for the last 3 years. And it's been fascinating to like see the disparity in the quality of comedy between the YouTube stuff and Netflix. Because I know good comics that have put out stuff on Netflix that it actually is not their best work because they've had to do it in X amount of time. Yeah. They signed the deal and they're like, oh shit. As opposed to anything.
And they didn't have the material ready.
They didn't have the material. But that's when the deal happened. You know, because that's just how this should happen. Yes, and this is how it should happen. It's like people are constantly pushing for you, and it just like for whatever reason, this is the month, this is the week, this is the hour, this is the meeting where they're able to breach the wall, and so now you have. You know, it doesn't matter that you have no troops, that you have no material. That sucks
because that's as a comic, I understand that like the money is so like, but in that way,
it's not even crazy money anymore.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Especially at Netflix. I think Amazon's the one that's pumping out the money now.
Yes.
Like everyone, all the like big names are going over to Amazon and Amazon's courting them in order to like build up their like comedy library. And
I would say that it is
Netflix
working.
Is losing. It is working.
Yeah, it's absolutely working.
I think people who are like, this is sad, but like the old like, oh, I've got an HBO special has turned into Netflix special. Netflix has replaced HBO as like the place where comics go to do their special and feel warranted. Like, oh, how many Netflix specials do you have? Like that's what people are like counting. Yeah. And it's become so gross because most of your specials on there are just mid as fuck. And it's like you can really see how you're grinding through it. Joe Rogan's last one is very prime example of, honey, you're just not ready. Like,
go back in the oven. 375, 30 to 40 minutes. Like it's
longer.
It's a broil. It's a roast. Like it needs to be in there for hours.
Like it's clear you're not doing this anywhere outside of Comedy
Awesome.
Mothership.
Yeah.
So you're getting like the laughs you think are funny. Like it's clearly like a microcosm, and this did not translate to Netflix. And it's just so embarrassing to see these people at the top of their game. Did you ever see that YouTube video that I sent you? You did?
I couldn't finish it. It was too... It was so much, Peter. It was like... I was starting to watch it. I was like, what am I... It's so...
It was so harsh.
It's so harsh. Like, I was like,
when
oh my God.
When he goes into like the shadow self coming out and him sweating out of his tits. Oh my God.
I mean, like, I was like, give this guy a Netflix special. That's so funny.
No, seriously, this fucking random British YouTuber.
The read on it. I mean, when I also talk about the YouTube stuff right now, like, I don't know if you follow Josh Johnson, like, or if you knew him when he was in Chicago.
I just saw his last
P. Diddy thing.
set he put on, the P. Diddy thing, yeah.
I mean, it is like such a, and that's the thing, nothing like that would ever exist on a mainstream streamer.
It would take too long.
It would take too long.
Yeah.
And the way that he's connecting and that the way that he's actually leveraging it into like real shows, and that's how he's marketing himself. Like, that's how it used to work. That's how show business used to work. You know, like the people only used to put out
this.
No, but people,
you weren't able to put yourself out 22 times in a year. He did 22 hours.
Crazy. And this is the thing. It's not like, and so if you guys, any of you guys are interested, in, please check it out. They're like all very engaging and interesting and like lovely hours.
Yeah. He's very smart, very likable. Yeah.
All the stuff, you know, and it's like, but it's not like crackpot, like wall to wall jokes. Right. It's a different sort of like rhythm and rhyme to it. And he's like weaving in other things. It's like, and he takes his time with stuff. So, you know, it's like, that's why he's able to do it in this way. And I think because
he's also being given the time at that club. It's that same club, you know, like,
yes. So
no one's getting that. Like no one's getting an hour a week at your own home city. You know what I mean? That's not something other comics get.
But there's no part of it where it's like it doesn't feel like deserved, right? Like he's doing it. You know?
What do you mean it doesn't feel deserved?
No, I'm saying there's no part of it that doesn't feel deserved, right? Like
I see. Yeah.
Right? Like he's
yeah, of course. He's just a powerhouse.
And like when I say that, I was watching this thing once where they're describing why artists used to put out like little like why people started recording music at all was that like people would play like a tiny little whatever on the radio, and the whole point was that people would go to shows, and they had to like it was actually a Ticketmaster thing about the nature of like live shows and stuff like that. And this grind was actually about like you release an album only in order to get people to go to shows, right? And this like Netflix thing is like kind of fuck things up because people think that the payoff needs to be at that point, and it's not. And this is like what Josh is proving. It's like you just have to. It's in order to get the people there, and with the crowd work stuff, it's I think a more of a novelty thing. There's no demonstration of competency. And he's kind of figured out this loophole where it's like there is the whole point is to be there live because he's not going to give you the same hour. And he's proven that by doing this, you know? And so as opposed to just putting out like random crowd work clips and kind of being like, oh, this is the vibe I want. No, like you're going because he's going to give you an entirely different hour sermon, like joke, you know what I mean? Like all of it.
Yeah.
It's been I just listening to it has been very fascinating, especially because I was watching that and then I watched this documentary Flip Side, which is so it's a guy who made a documentary in like when it was 22 that like made a big splash at Cannes and like this sort of thing. He like it was about Gen X people working corporate jobs, and it like created buzz around him, right? And it was very random. It was like he was like 23, and he turned that into like he made a pilot for PBS. He did a documentary for MTV. Like he started working, right? He started being a real creative, being a documentary filmmaker. And then he did that This American Life on HBO. He did that television show. And then work stopped. Like, that show ended. He had 2 kids. He was in LA, and he was a decade into a career, and he had no job. And then he started filming commercials. And this is his journey into just being like, and then, you know, like, so this is like, this documentary takes the place over the course of like maybe 15, 20 years. And so there's this point in the documentary where someone asks him what he does, and he stops himself from calling himself a documentary filmmaker. And he says, I direct commercials, because that's what he actually does.
Yeah.
Right. And even though, and like, the thing is, he shows you the piles of drawers, like the piles of tapes of hard drives that he has of all these projects he started. He did one with like, that's kind of the through line of there are 2 documentaries that he has a through line of. It's one trying to save this record store in New Jersey, and this other one of a very famous jazz musician. Like, Quincy Jones makes an appearance at his like gallery opening. Like, I mean, like, real like jazz, like, famous guy. Right. But his photographs languished for 40 years. But you look at the pictures, Peter, and you're like, these are all like iconic images of like Miles Davis, Frank Sinatra. And it's like, but they didn't see the light of day for 40 years. And like, it's just this meditation and on like the nature of what it is to be a creative person, and the negotiations you make with your creative self, real self, right? And like the people in your life. Yeah. You know,
yeah,
and
that makes sense. I mean, you know, if you call us comics, but if someone asks like, what is your occupation? I'm a writer. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say comic because I don't really make the rent by doing that. You know, so like, I do that, but this is how I make money. That's, you know, I that's kind of, I don't think that's that sad, because like, you are trying to hold on to documentarian as a title. It's just ego. You know, like, you're still living a creative life. You're still, you know, it's just that you're not making a documentary a year to support your 2 kids in their private school. You know, like, I get that. But like, yeah, that kind of rings true for everyone I know. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But I think like the sort of novelty of it is the way that he's weaving it in with, he does acknowledge the ego of it all, like your own like contention with your own mortality and the idea of legacy and all these things, like how you even like the fact that he has all these hard drives around him, right? Like, you have like, I have scraps
He's
of
reminding
paper,
himself, and
I have scraps of paper everywhere around myself about like projects and ideas that I've never done anything with, right? And it's like, it's just that, like, it's just what it is to grow older and like confront like the version of the creative self you may have envisioned yourself being and becoming, right? And the thing is, like, for me, obviously, there's like, and for us, I don't think there's like, as a youth, at 23, this is not what I wanted to do. This is like a realization I came to later. So like, our relationship to our creative selves is very different, and I think much more pragmatic.
100%.
Yeah,
because
like,
we entered at 30, so we don't have those like, oh my God, you're 14 and your parents are really pushing you to be this creative self. Like, no. That's not it at all. We are like trudging through the fucking mire, and like the barbed wire is scratching our backs open. We're bleeding.
And everything is in spite of, right? Like, internally. And it's like, yeah, so it's like, it's a very different relationship. The stuff that I really found fascinating was like his relationship with his own work. And also there's this guy, you know him, his name is David Milch. Like, he did NYPD Blue, he did Deadwood. He's like kind of a notorious figure in Hollywood. And something I did not realize was that he lost all of his money.
Oh shit.
He lost all of his NYPD money gambling.
Oh my God.
A scourge.
What? So
like,
big.
It's
That's so ugh.
NYPD Blue money. That's ABC. That's like network in the day. Yeah. Right? Like
no one makes that kind of money.
Nobody makes that kind of money anymore. And so
but the gambling is like a whole different thing.
It really is a scourge. Like we do need to this is fucking
That's why Bruno Mars is out here fucking dancing his little ass off.
It's the fentanyl of the mind. Like this is like what's crazy. Like as a sickness and as an illness, like we need to examine. But but like so he's like he got diagnosed with Alzheimer's and like in 2015. Dude, his like acuity, like the way that he'll pop up sometimes and what he was able to say inside of this interview, given that he was like many years into a Alzheimer's like diagnosis, one was fascinating and a testament to like using your mind and being a creative person. And it was crazy because they were talking about how he never stopped working. Right? Like this was like this monomaniacal obsession with like the creative self, like and how that is ego. Right? Like there was this part of him that like it's and it was
you saying like I need to create this, people need to see this and respond to this. You know, like
he's like, but the thing is most creative people, while acknowledging that, there is this like cultural and like even the creative person themselves, like this tacit like, but there's this loftier philosophical thing I'm getting out, a truth like this, like there's a higher purpose to what I'm doing where
it's Messiah like shit.
Yes, whereas like ultimately if we were to like kind of strip away all that stuff, like it's really ego driving forward this idea, right? And this need to share it. So yeah, like his greatest regret was about relationships, like not curating, and he was investing, and he, what do you call it? Failures of generosity. Like he called those like, I'm telling you, like the shit that he was, it was like really like the bon mots and like the use of the language that he was using was like really craftsman stuff, right? Because it's not like his ideas were necessarily anything beyond like any other philosopher, but just the way that he was packaging them.
And like, I wonder how an actor feels creative.
Oh, choices that they make instead of
no, of course, but like outside of the construct of work. I always tell this to my actor friends because I have a couple of actor friends who are like, there's no jobs, blah, 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 like the industry, yada, 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 everything's falling apart. And I always say like, I feel so lucky that I'm a comic because I don't have to feel that way. I can literally at any time, even an open mic, go up and have 5 minutes to myself where I could say whatever the fuck I want, how I want it, in the order I want it, and express my creativity that way.
I mean, that's why you see actors in LA going up and doing
crazy. Comedy. That. Yeah, sure. But yes, that is also its separate sickness. Yeah. But actors writ large don't do comedy.
Right.
And especially my friends are like drama actors, like they were on like NYPD Blue, and et cetera. So I go like, okay, so you're an actor. Why don't you go act? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, go do a play. Go audition for a student film or indie thing, or like there's plenty of things to do, like take a class. Like there's so many ways to express your creativity as an actor that most actors do not do. They just wait until someone says, okay, come act. So what are you doing for the rest of the time? If you're not George Clooney, if you're not Brad Pitt and constantly going from like gig to gig to gig to movie to movie to movie to movie, then how are you acting? How are you creating? You're not. You're just sitting around.
But I would also say that like a lot of actors, at the end of the day, it's like not like they want to. It's the acting and the thing of itself is not like what's giving them the creative fulfillment. It's like the job versus.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean? My point.
Yeah,
it's like then you're not a creative person.
No,
you're just a hired gun for that gig. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
It's like saying like an artist, like a visual artist, like you're only going to create art when you get commissions. That makes no sense. Like, what are you going to do for the rest of your life as an artist when you're not being commissioned?
I mean, that's where people are always like, if you can't do this for free, you can't do this, right? Like
my point exactly.
Yeah,
that's my point exactly. Like, you cannot, as an artist, your ego, like you said, is driving your need and your fucking annoying penchants to let everyone know you're creating. You know, like.
Did you know I'm creating today?
Yeah. Have you know I spurted out some creations today?
Oh, I thought you might want to know. I mean.
Yeah. But like actors can't do that. Like directors can't do that. Like you can't just go around directing alone. Like you have to be collaborating with someone else in order to do your craft or your art, right? Unless again, you're doing a class or you're doing, you know, some other gigs that you're for free. That you're just doing it to keep your instrument like warm, you know, like it's like when you and I do like reps to stay instead of like for the $20 we're gonna get and the 2 beer tickets. Like that's not what we're doing it for. We're doing it to stay warm, like to stay tuned, right? Again, very athletic, not like other artists, but other artists like. Especially, I keep going back to actors because I'm in Hollywood. Like my friends are going through so much like depression and so much like anxiety over the industry not working out and like this, and I totally get it and it's warranted. And also, what are you doing? Like how we started this podcast, how like being an artist, you can't just be an artist anymore. You have to be like your own brand manager, your own marketing manager. You know, you have to be a video editor. You have to be a producer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, for comics, but for actors, what are you doing? You're waiting for writers.
Roast of actors. Like
no, like I say this to all my friends too. I'm like, go do a play. Like there are so many screen actors. They're like, oh, I don't do theater. It's like, you're not an actor.
Yeah.
You're not an act. It's like telling a comedian like, oh, sorry, I don't do clean comedy. You're not a comic. You can do clean comedy if you need to. Yes. You know what I mean? It's still comedy. Like you just take away the thing and redo. You're a master of words. What do you mean you don't do clean comedy? Like that's when actors are like, oh, I don't do theater. I only do film and TV. It's like, you just want to be famous. That you're not a fucking actor. Like, stop it. And that's what really pisses me off is that like you're getting all depressed and like so sad about an industry that's falling apart and you're doing none of the work to get yourself like ready for when the work comes up or whatever. You know, like I don't know. It just really is. It's hard to watch people like lament when other folks like us are really spinning every fucking play possible to stay in the game.
I mean, I will say there are some actors in Hollywood that like get it, right? One of the best.
And I am talking about like our level. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Not the Zendaya level. Like, no. Obviously, they're always working. Like our level who are like spurts of work and not
absolutely.
Work.
But one of the best like pieces of advice or perspective about what it is to be a working actor was a video with Bryan Cranston, who comes from like an acting family. Like his dad was also a day player, like had a couple of guest stars. Like it's like never like a star of anything, never even a recurring, just like co-star, guest star, like just a journeyman actor going through all of those things, right? So he comes from this background, so he understands what it is to like be able to raise a family doing this kind of work. And this is before Bryan was like really anything, but he was just someone that was working. You see him pop up on a variety of things, and you knew he would be good.
As the dentist,
whatever. Yes, absolutely, like this, and he would pop up. So the way he described it was like, you know, if you get the audition, doing a great job at the audition, that's the job. Booking it is extra.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
That's not the goal. It's to show up. The job is to like go to the audition, be prepared, and act. That's the acting. That's the moment. That's actually that's the skill. That's the thing.
Right.
The actual booking of it, that's play. That's joy. That's like, what a gift. But everything else, that's the job. And I was like, that was such, because I hate auditioning. I hate, like, I was such a fucking bummer. And it was just like him explaining it that way really put it into perspective. Like, right, like, this is actually what it is to be an actor.
It's us literally crafting what the setup is and then figuring out how to punch it. That's the work. Doing it on stage is the play. Yeah, exactly. So it's the same thing. Like, actors, you have to, if you're a creative person, you have to remain creative. Like, you can't just be creative when there's a dollar sign attached to it. Like,
oh, yeah.
Sure.
Wait, are you still doing music, by the way? Like, how are you saying creative in other ways? Like, because I am trying to discover this about myself. Like, that is a reminder.
Music
for all
and writing the book. That's been really my, like, other creative way thing. To stay creative. That has literally no deadline. Right. No one's paying me to write this book. Trust. No one wants it. But it is something I do for myself because I feel like one day this story. I feel like this story should be told, and it has been told because I wrote it. Now I'm in the, like, mire of editing and, you know, whatever. But it's something that I don't do with, like, a, like, paycheck in mind. You know what I mean? It's just for me to put out there. And I even said, like, if no publishers want it, then I'll do it myself on Amazon or whatever. Like, I just want to complete something and get it out. You know, like, I don't want to do it just because it's going to be like, oh, yeah, oh, my God, you're going to be a #1 New York Times bestseller overnight. Like, I don't have dreams of that. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not a fool. Like, I just want to put this thing out. I imagine it's similar to how people feel about front-facing characters. Like, they just want to get it out. Like, they're not, like, trying to be like, this 15-second character reel is going to buy my house. Like, that's not what I'm sure that's not what they're thinking either. But that's something I don't do or can't do. I don't like my visage out there like that. Nor do I like looking at myself really. So, like, the writing is great for me.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't know if, like, I'm just, like, too old for it, but it's just tough. It's
to
tough
do anything
for me
else.
This, like, the front facing stuff. It's very tough for me. Like, even if I'm
the front facing stuff.
It's tough.
Can't. It's so chingbro. I can't.
Yeah, like I try. It is
the Gen Xer in us that, like, can't do it.
It's like it is. There's, like, I've really tried. I've tried.
Yeah,
I want to do this for you, but I can't.
I actually don't want to do it at all. Like, it's fine. I know my lane, and that's not it. That's not it. I'll leave that for the other Korean Americans out there.
Wait, can I just say, before we go, can you tell me, like, of the Diddy content you've been consuming, is there one that you feel like is
too
like
crazy?
Maybe the best or juiciest, or, like, maybe that can be our rec at the end of the pod? Like, you got to check out this content about the Diddy stuff.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so there's this YouTube creator called Karen Huger's Wig that for those of you who don't know, Karen Huger is a Real Housewife on the Housewives of Potomac, and she is famous for her wig sliding down her forehead. So this person does all these, like,
I don't even watch the Real Housewives of Potomac, but I am on Wig Talk, so this is how I know.
Okay, great. You'll love it then.
Like, hard wig, soft life. Like, this is like what this is.
Yes, exactly. So Karen Huger's Wig is an account that does, like, recaps of, like, weekly mess that was on Housewives or whatever. But they also do, like, top pop culture moments that left you agaped or whatever, you know. Like, he does all this stuff, and he has, like, a 2 to 3 part Diddy video series that you definitely should check out. One of the TikTok things that I was the most like about was Brittany Murphy's death.
The
pneumonia
the fact that both her and her husband pneumonia. Yeah.
And like how this her coroner was literally every famous person's coroner. Then I'm like, okay, what's happening? You can't find a coroner anymore, apparently. And this is all unsubstantiated. This is all alleged. But Brittany Murphy was dating, what's his name for a long time? Ashton Kutcher, who seems to be in a lot of hot water now because of all his affiliations with rapists writ large. And so some of these TikTok angles are really going after like how, fucked up Ashton is. And there's like rumors that he and Mila are divorcing. So there's a lot of that kind of rumor. And it's particularly tasty, and there's a lot of bullshit out there. So I'm kind of like, I don't know what's real or what's like, fanatical nonsense.
Yes,
it's hard to like tease it out.
It's impossible.
Yeah, because there's so many people involved, and there's so many people TikToking. Like, I watched an entire thing. This was so sad about this young black girl who is talking straight to TikTok about like, hey, I was one of the girls at these trafficked at these parties, and she's like going through all the stuff that was happening to her as a 15-year-old girl, and it's beyond heartbreaking. It's like, it's demonic stuff, and I don't want to repeat it here because it's bad, but I'm glad that these people are able to like have TikTok as a way to like tell their story.
As some sort of recourse, sure. Yeah.
As something, because I know they've been silenced and they've been quiet about this for forever. I'm sure they thought that they were going to take their abuse and, their assault all the way to the grave. So the fact that like they're able to see the light of day now, like that's really breaking my heart. Like, I don't know. I'm watching too much and it's like making me sad.
I mean, I'm in it. I'm like allowing the wave of content to wash over me, and do I need to know the truth? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just
Have you seen any of the Orlando Brown stuff?
Okay, so because I'm in Jaguar.
It's heartbreaking.
Right. I'm Jaguar right.
You think Jaguar right is right?
Jaguar right. For those of you who do not know, this was like the cornerstone of the Diddy stuff. For me, I've been following the Jaguar right stuff since R. Kelly, like for quite some time now, right? Yeah. One of the best parts of Jaguar Wright's, let's call it testimony, is because it's like these like YouTube conversations that she has. She goes into the studio, and it's one of the best parts of her testimony is the bizarre way she decides to emphasize words.
Yes.
It's like it has no correlation to the importance of the word itself.
Yeah.
It's
she's
just
so dramatic.
She's so dramatic. She's like, and that's when I decided to order pretzels. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with it's so bizarre. But outside of that,
it's almost like she's like thinking of it at the moment, and that's why she's yelling it.
I mean, I
like
watched,
she's like
there's no doubt in my mind that there can be two opposing truths that can be true at like two opposing truths that can be happening at the same time. One of which is that Jaguar Wright is correct and that Jaguar Wright is insane. Right, like those two things could be true at the same time.
Absolutely,
right? Because in that same thing, there's a conversation between her and Orlando Brown.
Yes,
like, crazy,
nuts.
So if you guys want to have that be like kind of the cornerstone of your Diddy deep dive, go ahead. I encourage you. It is very, very interesting. Again, grain of salt. There's a lot of stuff that.
There's a lot of misinformation out there.
But there's also. But prior to the last year, you would have said the same thing about most of the stuff that has turned out to be true. Like the Cat Williams, like truly.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so again, so that
I'm sure it's mostly true, but there are stuff that I saw that I was like about to repost, and I was like, hold on, you know what I mean? So like, and I'm 42, so like,
don't repost. Don't repost. Don't repost anything. If you have a
just
job,
watch, like, scroll.
Yes, like, yes. I mean, if you have a job or you want a job in the future,
you want to keep that job.
Do not repost.
Don't post.
Okay. Don't post. Don't repost. Okay.
No.
But that being the cornerstone, and then there is this one of my favorite ones with like this was kind of helpful for me to like put the whole situation into like to understand the scope of everything. Right? Because like with the Epstein stuff, it was the same thing. It was kind of like you needed to understand the scope.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it's this girl on TikTok who is just like has a huge brown piece of paper and she's just putting all these names up on it with Post-its. So like green means like trafficker. Red is like victim, black is like actor, right? Like, and it's like she has this everywhere, and it's like from everyone from like Epstein and like political people to the Kardashians, right? And then there's like
the Kardashians. I'm so ready for this. The Corey Gamble thing. I really have. It's always been so weird that he's part of that family, and he and Chris are not fucking. No, you know it.
Like, I mean, it's so that
okay. So what do you think?
Because
I haven't. The Bieber stuff is so sad, especially like all his song lyrics now coming. You're like, oh my god, he was screaming.
Of course. I mean, but that's because I've known this with Jaguar as well. But like that plus the Usher tweets.
Usher. Oh my god.
I'm telling you this. Eve.
Yeah, Eve. You know, come on, Rough Riders. You know she was all up in that.
Like,
you know it.
What's happening with Mary J? I mean, like all of it. Like
Mary J. Blige going on tour with Neo.
Listen, I have been hollerating in the dancery since the beginning. Okay, it's like there's no like Mary. It's like devastating for anybody that grew up in the 90s who like fucked with any of these, right? So, but this girl, like if you just TikTok search like girl with like Post-it notes, like whatever, but that was to me very helpful in like making sure I understood the scope of this, right? The grandness of it. And then I would say this Josh Johnson thing about Diddy is also it's like a very funny like way of like how he kind of encapsulates stuff and like the funny like beefs, because 50 Cent has come out of this a winner,
a hero.
Like who would have thought that like after all these years of him just shading on the Breakfast Club would have wound up with him like selling a documentary to Netflix and winning this case, like
winning hip hop.
Winning, like it's fucked up, like it's so crazy. And so like if like to me those are like two extremes of like the content spectrum, right? The Josh Johnson kind of like calling all of that stuff, and then like for me the source, which is Jaguar. You know, like, because there's no part of what she's saying that is not winding itself up inside of the TikTok universe. Like, all things are coming from her, basically. Yeah. All those conspiracies that people are spinning out, they're all coming. To me, that's the source. Yeah. Even if, like, there are the people that are reiterating what she's saying, it's coming from her because she said it first. So, when she falls, at least they can all point to her having done it first. Right? Like, I was just saying what she was saying. So... That to me, those are the two spectrums, and that girl like kind of putting it all on the piece of paper. I was like, this was helpful because the visual, because otherwise you can kind of lose track.
Like, because there's so many people involved, and that was the whole point of the Diddy freak offs, is to get so many people involved so that you can be unassailable, that you're covered by every angle, because you have blackmail on everyone. Exactly, like we're all going down together.
I mean, that's how Epstein did it.
And guess what? Yeah, and you are all going down together. And here's the whole thing. With Epstein, the main difference between the two is that Epstein, I wouldn't say smart enough, but Epstein didn't keep tapes as much as we know. Okay? Yeah. He was just providing a nasty service, an illegal, fucked up service. Yeah. To be engendered into the higher ups, to the world leaders, etc. Diddy was doing it so that he could have control over these people. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
L.A. Reid and like the Sony Music execs, Universal Group, all these people. Like he was trying to have control over them by taping them in these situations. So because of those tapes, now Diddy's absolutely screwed because there's tapes. You know, like if there weren't tapes, it would still be like he said, she said, and they would have to go through a lot of like rigmarole to like find evidence enough to like indict a grand jury, blah blah blah. Like,
and
but this
all the
was
intimidation
so
would work.
Exactly.
The thing is, it's when you rule this way, right? The same way with like any sort of dictator. When you rule with such an iron fist, that means that like you get hoisted by your own fucking petard, like that. Right? Like it's just that you have engendered and fostered no love. So no one is coming for you. No one is sticking up for you. No one is standing with you. Everyone's scared of you. So it's because you rule this way.
And they're hoping you go down.
Yeah. Because you rule this way, this is how you fucking get hoisted by this petard. Like this is the downfall. This is like, I mean, this is hubris, right? This is
yeah,
it.
but because of that, there's gonna be. I was saying how like, oh man, Diddy's probably gonna get Epsteined, but maybe he won't because there's so much video evidence, that it doesn't matter if he talks or not. Like for Epstein, they had to have him silenced because he was the source. We don't even need Diddy for this. You know what I mean? That's the crazy part. I mean, like we have all his evidence. He got
so maybe
raided.
That's why. But I mean, like to me, like the last line of the Josh Johnson thing, where it's like, I hope Diddy gets life in prison and that he lives forever. Like that might be like a sort of thing where like, I am very fascinated. Like all of his moves inside of this have been to me so interesting. Like why he didn't decide to leave. Cause he really, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what happened, but it's like, there's nobody around you loyal. No one around you is willing to like put their neck on the line for you anymore, you know. And yeah, and also I think that his drug addiction is severe. Like when I was looking at some of the video of him throughout the years, I'm like, oh, like he's so clearly fucked up, so like, and increasingly so through the years, like more and more like visibly fucked up versus like before. And like given like the concoction that he was making, and like just thinking about like him using it consistently like that, like I just think he started slipping.
Well, yeah, he's sloppy, and that's what the conspiracies on TikTok are saying, is that like he's taking the fall, but it's actually going up all the way to Jay-Z, Beyonce. So
you guys gotta go check out the Jaguar, right?
We'll see. No one is safe, and I'm ready for the redistribution. I really am.
2024 has been insane, truly
insane. I know, and here's what 25's rearing its head, and I'm ready for it.
Okay,
I'm ready
for
the new world order. Bye. Thank you for listening. Bye.